Welcome back to TV. My name is Natasha Bryant. I am your host. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and owner of Speak Life Transformation LLC. You can go to speaklifetransformation.com to learn more about me and the services that I provide through psychotherapy and confidence coaching. You are watching an episode of Therapy Unveiled, an opportunity to talk about what happens behind the closed doors of therapy. I share with you topics that I've discussed with clients with the hopes that you too can learn the tips and strategies to live your best life. And so today's topic is going to be about codependency. And I decided to speak about codependency because there's been a few clients that I've been working with, and we've been talking about their giving, their need to fix, and they have become more aware of the dependency they have on others to validate that they are enough. The giving and the fixing is to confirm that they will receive that validation. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and how a lot of times if you are a giver, if you are a fixer, if you're a caregiver, and you feel like that's something you have to do, or you feel this pressure to do that in relationships, it may be due to some codependency you have. So let's talk about what codependency is. Codependency is this desire, this need to give, to care for others, to fix others' problems, because it's the idea that when I do all that, then I will be able to prove that I am enough. I will get feedback from other people that I have value, and I will be validated in the idea that I have worth. And so it becomes a form of dependency, because in order for the person to feel secure in who they are, in order for the person to believe that they have value, they need to hear it from other people. And so codependency happens in those who may be struggling with low self-esteem or lack of confidence, and they're not able to reassure themselves that they have value. And so instead, they depend on others to provide that reassurance. It then can cause feelings of anxiety, because it's this idea that if I don't do all the right things to get that validation from others, then I won't recognize, or I won't feel like I have worth or value. And then I may receive rejection. There's this idea that if I get rejected, if I don't have the people in my life, then I won't be able to feel valued or feel like I have worth. So the anxiety comes up with this fear of rejection. So the person may do all these things, and all those things cause this pressure to overperform. Trying to do all these things cause the pressure to be perfect. It causes the pressure to please, because again, by pleasing, by being perfect, by overperforming, then that will prevent rejection from others. And as long as people are in my life, then I will feel like I have purpose and value. And so that's where the codependency comes in, because it creates this soul tie with your value and the opinions of others. It becomes this belief that it's all one. How people see me determines my value. The way to get rid of that codependency is separating the two and recognizing that people's opinions are separate from my value. So let's just I want to talk about 3 different areas or functions of what codependency can look like, its purpose, and see if you connect with any of these. So one function or way that codependency can look like is this proof that it's going through this desire to prove that you have purpose in a relationship, right? And so again, because that will prevent the fear of rejection. So if I prove my value in relationships, then I recognize, I feel valued. I'm able to confirm that I do have value and purpose. And so giving, right, caring for others then proves that I have worth and value. And like I said before, how codependency comes up is by putting so much attention on other people's needs, putting so much value on pleasing other people, that the sole focus becomes making other people happy. So when I give, when I care, when I fix, right, I'm able to make people happy. I'm able to make people feel good about me being in their life, right? And then that becomes such a sole focus that you just forget about yourself. You don't even take care of yourself because you don't matter anymore, again, because it's a soul tie that my value is attached to the opinions of others. So me care of myself doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. There's no positive outcome that's going to come out of that, compared to if I put all my attention, all my energy into making sure other people are okay, then that gets a way bigger return, because then I feel so much value. So when you're going out of your way to prove that you have value in a relationship, it helps reaffirm that. And then when you prove yourself through fixing or through giving or through caregiving, then you feel like, okay, I proved that I'm a good person because I'm not being selfish, right? I proved that I deserve this title, whether it's a title at your job, or whether it's this title of being a good mom, being a good daughter, being a good wife or husband or brother or nephew, whatever that title is. When the idea is, if I give, I prove that all of that is true. And there can be this uncomfortable feeling of, but if I don't fix, if someone says, well, don't fix anything, or if someone says, I don't need your help, it immediately feels uncomfortable, because you're thinking, well, then what's my purpose? If I'm not fixing this problem, if I don't help you, then what is my purpose? Again, soul tie, my value is connected to my fixing and my giving. And so the idea of someone not needing you, you immediately feel rejected. You immediately feel discarded, because again, that soul tie. Another area is giving and fixing to please others. Again, the thought process there is, when I give, when I fix, then I get positive feedback that reaffirms and validates that I am enough. When I give, when I fix, that I get the positive feedback that sounds like gratitude. People are grateful for what I'm doing in their lives. People are happy about what I've done in their lives. People are praising me for what I've done in their lives. And all of that feedback then reassures that I am enough. And through the proving and the pleasing, right, that also affirms that, oh, how I see myself, because I think I'm a good person. I would say I'm helpful. I would say that I'm creative or loving, but I'm not really sure. I don't really believe it when I say it. But when I prove my value in a relationship, when I please and get all this positive feedback, then that reaffirms that how I see myself is true. Again, there's this anxiety, this fear that if I don't do all these things, then people won't see me that way. And then that could mean that how I see myself actually isn't correct. And I've been lying to myself the whole time. And I'm scared that might be the truth. So I'm just going to continue to do all the things to make sure that it doesn't happen. And so that pleasing can lead to perfection. The proving can lead to perfection, where you can't make mistakes. You have to be on all the time, because again, you want to constantly prove that you belong in this relationship, you have value, and you want to constantly please to get the feedback and hear people say that you belong and that you have value. And the third area is this idea that the giving and the pleasing and the fixing will cause people to want to give back to me and help me the way I help them. The idea of I give, you give. And so there's this expectation then that comes with you when you give and you receive is, okay, well, when I give, then they're going to be grateful and they're going to thank me for all the hard work that I've done. I'm going to do all this hard work. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to put in so much time and energy and all this. And this person is going to be so happy with me. They're going to be so happy about what I've done for them. But it doesn't happen all the time. And then when someone is not happy and they're maybe upset that you stepped in without their permission. Or they might just be like, oh, thanks, and keep it moving, and not as enthused as you were expecting them to be. Or they just take and don't give anything back. The feeling of rejection comes in. And then there's some resentment. I did all these things for this person and they didn't even care. I went out of my way to do all this and the person didn't even acknowledge it. Or me. Because it's this idea that when I give, when I fix, people will finally see me. When I put all this energy into helping this person, providing them with resources, fixing their problem, or giving, I will finally be seen by them. I will finally be heard. So there's this expectation that I give, you give. And the reality of it is people are stuck in their own worlds. Everybody has their own problems that they're focused on. And so many times that's not the outcome you end up getting. And then again, you go back to feeling rejected or disappointed, or the self-talk within yourself goes back to a lot of self-sabotaging, self-blame. Oh, I shouldn't have did that. Why did I even put all that time? I should have known better. I'm such an idiot. I did it again. Putting all my energy in somebody and they didn't even acknowledge me. Or maybe I don't deserve to be acknowledged. Maybe I really am, not who I think I am. Maybe I'm really not a good person. Maybe I am selfish. Maybe I don't deserve all, worth and value. Maybe I'm not good enough, right? Then the self-talk comes in when you don't get the praise or the gratitude, when you don't get the giving back, when you don't feel like, when people don't need you and they turn down your offer to help or to give. The self-talk can get really loud. The negative self-talk can get really loud when that happens. Because again, there's this anxiety and this fear of rejection because of the soul tie of your value and opinions and responses of others. And so maybe some of that connects with you. Maybe you connect with some of those behaviors or ways of thinking when it comes to your relationships with other people. And to be honest, my clients, when we talk about codependency, they are shocked because when we first talk about giving, it's this like fulfillment they have. Like, oh, I just love to give. Like, I like helping people. I like, making sure everybody's okay. Solving people's problems and being able to be in a situation and give resources. Oh, I have resources. I should be giving resources back. And it feels very fulfilling. But when we start digging deep on the why behind it, what we end up uncovering is that it feels good because of all this positive feedback we're getting from others, and then that is confirming and validating self-value. And the thought of detaching that, the thought of people not giving that feedback is scary. The thought of just not giving today, the thought of actually putting some boundaries and recognizing that I'm exhausted because in the midst of me giving, I have no time or energy for myself, or because I've been giving so much, I've been really, really good at being an expert on everybody else's needs, but I have absolutely no idea what I need. So the thought of putting boundaries on my giving so I can start focusing on myself is scary. I immediately feel selfish. I immediately don't feel like a good person because I'm taking away from people. What really is, that's really not what's happening. You're not taking away from people. You're giving more. You're giving yourself the amount of energy that you need. And so if that's coming up for you, like there's some anxiety or so you feel uncomfortable with the thought of putting boundaries on your giving or not fixing people's problems and only helping when someone asks, if that's stirring up some uncomfortable feelings, then there may be some codependency there. And so what are some ways to move through the codependency? One way is, again, like I said, to disconnect that soul tie. So redefining your definition for your worth. Because the codependency is saying, my worth is determined by the response of others. And what's happening is you're giving a lot of that control to other people. You're allowing them to determine your value. So it's reprogramming that. And also it's causing you to try to control other people's behaviors. You know, the thought is, again, if I give, people will give back. If I please, people will be happy with me. They will show gratitude towards me. If I prove my value, people will see me. People will acknowledge that I'm a good person, right? And that messaging is saying that you have the ability to control how people respond to you, which that's not the case. And so you end up constantly on this ladder, climbing. This ladder never ends because you're kind of trying to control something you have absolutely no control over. And so that's the second part, is recognizing what you have control over and what you don't have control over. You have control over how you respond, but you don't have control over how other people respond. And so thinking about what are ways you are giving, and is that causing you to try to control how people are responding? Do you find yourself getting really upset when people don't respond the way you want them to respond? And so it's letting go of that idea that you can control how people perceive you and receive you. Another area, start saying yes to yourself. Part of that is giving yourself the permission to say no. Even when it's like stirring up in you and you're like, but I have the resources, I should help, but you really don't have the time. You really don't have the energy. And you haven't even given yourself the same level of energy and time. And so putting some boundaries for yourself, not even for others, because when you're saying no to others, that's also telling you to say yes to yourself. So putting boundaries on how much you're giving. If you recognize you don't have the time, vocalize that to somebody. Say no. Like, thank you. I appreciate, you seeking me for help, but at this present time, I'm not available. Or I'm not available at 12, but I can be available tomorrow at 11. Like, putting those boundaries. Recognizing that I got to start putting myself first. And doing daily messaging for yourself, that where you start practicing you reaffirming your worth and your value. So instead of you waiting to hear from other people that you have value, you start telling yourself that you have value. So throughout the day, maybe in the morning or at night, making sure you schedule time where you maybe write down a declaration, affirmation, manifestation, whatever version you would like, where you are reaffirming your value and your worth. So you're hearing it from your own mouth and not just saying it in your head, but actually saying it out loud. A strategy to do that is even doing a voice memo, a voice note, and where you record yourself saying positive affirmations, declarations, manifestations about yourself, and you say it with conviction, so that when you hear it, when you replay that back and you hear it, you're hearing yourself have that confidence. You're hearing yourself saying great things about you, and then that can start changing your mindset about who you are, and that will start separating you from that soul tie, and you'll begin to see your worth and the opinions of others as two different things. So again, that's doing a voice record, a voice memo of you saying affirmations, declarations, manifestations with confidence, and then replaying it back. Start setting boundaries on the amount of giving and fixing that you're doing. As a matter of fact, don't fix at all. That could be one of the boundaries. Don't fix other people's problems unless they ask for help. And then if they're asking for help or you plan on giving to others, set boundaries where you are not giving at the expense of your own needs. And then the other one is being able to recognize your purpose of your giving and fixing. Think back and think about, why do you love to give so much? And if you're recognizing that it's attached to getting feedback from others, because when you hear how other people feel about you, that then reaffirms that you are enough, then that's recognizing there's some codependency on there in that area. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that this really connects with you in different ways. Feel free to share this with others that you know may also be struggling with codependency or may not recognize that there's some codependency, and this will be helpful to them to make those connections. Also subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can continue to get information about wellness and mental wellness and self-care strategies. When you do subscribe, make sure you hit the notification button so you'll be notified when a video is posted. And follow me on Instagram at speaklife_SLT and on Facebook at Living Speak Life. Until I see you guys again, make sure you be bold, be safe.